Hello, 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 and welcome to Miss Hope's Reading Hour. Welcome to this wonderful Wednesday broadcast. So glad to be here with you all. As you can hear from our music in the background, this is going to be a little bit of a silly day, okay? So glad to be here with you all. Hopefully you had a terrific Tuesday and that the beginning of your wonderful Wednesday was wonderful, okay? It was very nice outside today. I had my blinds open while I was doing virtual school with my students, and I was like, oh, it's very nice, very sunny. I was very happy about it. Hopefully you got to get some time outside. It was a little cool, but it felt good because like some people had some heat on in my house because I was like, ooh, it's kind of cold in the morning. So hopefully you got to get outside into that nice sunny weather, okay? And hopefully your school is going well, your learning is going well. I know that sometimes the virtual school can be a challenge and everybody can't wait to get back to their friends and their teachers, but hopefully it's getting a little easier for you, okay? Well, today on our wonderful Wednesday, we are being a little silly, reading some silly stories, and of course, going back to Walking with Miss Millie. So, just to let you know beforehand, before we get too far into Miss Hope's Reading Hour, this wacky, silly music that you hear and the silly books that we will read today, Miss Hope unfortunately does not own the rights to any of those things, okay? Yes, silly can be good. Thank you, Miss Kate. So, I don't own the rights to any of this, but it is here for your listening and reading enjoyment, okay? Now, let me show you the books that we are reading today, okay? Before I show you that, let me remind you, if you would like to donate to the Miss Hope's Reading Hour Library, if you look right down here at this black ticker, you will see all the information that you need to see in order to donate to Miss Hope's Reading Hour Library via Cash App or by email. And you can send gift cards or let me know if you want to send me some books by email, okay? Now, let us get to our funny books today, our silly books. So, the first book that we are going to read is called The Pigeon Finds a Hot Dog. Now, what could this story be about? The pigeon finds a hot dog. Oh, in the corner, it says, with special guest star, the duckling. Okay? Pigeon finds a hot dog. This book is by Mo Willems. We read some books by him. We read some of those books, the Piggy and Elephant books. The same author writes those books. I gotta get some more of those. They have a whole big series of Piggy and Elephant, and they're all really silly and funny. So, the pigeon finds a hot dog. We're going to read that. And we are going to read a few short stories out of this book, The Stinky Cheese Man and Other Fairly Stupid Tales. I read a couple of them and I was like, oh yeah, these are pretty silly. So, another author that we have heard of before. These are by John Skeetska and Lane Smith. We have read books by John Skeetska before. So, The Stinky Cheese Man and Other Fairly Stupid Tales. Okay, so we're going to read some selections out of this book. And oh, look, my friends, there's one of those medals. This is the Caldecott medal. So this book got a medal. Remember, I told you, if you ever want to write a book, if you want to write a book right now, you may be able to win one of these literary medals. Just because you're a kid doesn't mean that you can't win one. You can, okay? And of course, we will continue walking with Miss Millie. This book is by Tamara Bundy. Okay? Oh, wow. Miss Kate said the Art and Theater here in Pennsylvania and Philadelphia did a great stage adaptation of The Stinky Cheese Man. That probably would have been really funny. And if you live in Philadelphia, of course, once everything starts opening up again, the Art and Theater has some great plays for children. I've taken some of my students to them and some of the drama students with Miss Kate. So they have really, really good shows. All right, so let us get to our first book. The Pigeon Finds a Hot Dog, with special guest star, the Duckling. Words and Pictures by Mo Willems. Ha! I like these pictures inside. Look at all those hot dogs. And this is a scholastic book. All right. Oh, a hot dog. Yummy, yummy, yummy. May I help you? Wow, the guest star comes in pretty early, huh? Is that a hot dog? Not a hot dog. My hot dog. Gotta let them know. It's mine. I have a question. I've never had a hot dog before. What do they taste like? Well, they are a taste sensation. Each morsel is a joy, a celebration in a bun. If you've never experienced the splendor of a hot dog, you should really wait a second. This hot dog is mine. I found it. Of course. Enjoy. Go ahead. Would you say it tastes taste like chicken? Can you believe this guy? What? It just tastes like a hot dog, okay? Okay. So, does it taste like chicken then? Oh, for Pete's sake. Hey, I'm a curious bird. That's it. Whew. Pigeon seems pretty angry. What is about to happen? It's my hot dog, right? Mine. This is unbelievable. Finders keepers is what I say. I'm a curious bird. What do they taste like? Blah, blah, blah. I can't take it anymore. Yeah, right. What am I supposed to do? Woo. He is hot. Okay? That is one upset pigeon. I think I've got an idea. Oh, let's see what the idea is. You know, you're pretty smart for a duckling. Yeah, I think it needs mustard. The end. Hey, the duckling wore the pigeon down, okay? I don't know what it tastes like. I want to taste it. How about we share it? I'll just ask you questions till I wear you down. Well, sharing is also good, but sometimes you don't want to when you really want it. Until someone keeps asking you questions, and then you're like, forget it. Here, have some. That was a good book. I like that book. All right, now, The Stinky Cheese Man and Other Fairly Stupid Stories by John Skeetska and Lane Smith. A Caldecott Honor book. One of those literary medals that you can get if you write one. This is also a scholastic book. All right, so there's something at the beginning. I gotta read it. I have found a kernel of wheat, said the little red hen. Now who will help me plant this wheat? Where is that lazy dog? Where is that lazy cat? Where is that lazy mouse? Wait a minute. Hold everything. You can't tell your story right here. This is the end paper. The book hasn't even started yet. Who are you? Will you help me plant the wheat? I'm Jack. I'm the narrator. And no, I can't help you plant the wheat. I'm a very busy guy trying to put a book together. Now, why don't you just disappear for a few pages? I'll call you when I need you. But who will help me tell my story? Who will help me draw a picture of the wheat? Who will help me spell out the wheat? Listen, hen, forget the wheat. Here comes the title page. Wait till you see it. Title page for The Stinky Cheese Man and Other Fairly Stupid Stories. That is hilarious. All right. So, wait a minute. Oh, now we have to read this about Jack if we're going to read the beginning of this. Okay. Introduction. A long time ago, people used to tell magical stories of wonder and enchantment. Those stories were called fairy tales. Those stories are not in this book. The stories in this book are almost fairy tales, but not quite. The stories in this book are fairly stupid tales. I mean, what else would you call a story like Goldilocks and the Three Elephants? This girl walking around the woods smells peanut porridge cooking. She decides to break into the elephant's house, eat the porridge, sit in the chairs, sleep in the beds. But when she gets in the house, she can't climb up on baby elephant's chair because it's too big. She can't climb up on mama elephant's chair because it's much too big. And she can't climb up on papa elephant's chair because it's much, much too big. So she goes home. The end. Red running shorts. Oh, wait a minute. And if you don't think that's fairly stupid, you should read Little Red Running Shorts or maybe The Stinky Cheese Man. In fact, you should definitely go read the stories now because the rest of this introduction just kind of goes on and doesn't really say anything. I stuck it on to the end here so it would fill up the page and make it look like I really knew what I was talking about. So stop now. I mean it. Quit reading. Turn the page. If you read this last sentence, I won't tell you anything. Jack. Surgeon General's warning. It has been determined that these tales are fairly stupid and probably dangerous to your health. So, let us start with, which one did I read? All right, so we are going to read our first story. Oh, I'm sorry, I didn't show you Jack. So that's Jack right there. That's Jack. He's the narrator, I guess, of all these stories. The Princess and the Bowling Ball. Once upon a time, there was a prince, and this prince's dad and mom, the king and queen, somehow got into their royal heads that no princess would be good enough for their boy unless she could feel a pea through 100 mattresses. So it should come as no surprise that the prince had a very hard time finding a princess. Every time he met a nice girl, his mom and dad would pile 100 mattresses on top of a pea, and then invite her to sleep over. When the princess came down for breakfast, the queen would ask, "How did you sleep, dear?" The princess would politely say, "Fine, thank you." And the king would show her the door. This went on for 3 years. And of course, nobody ever felt the pea under 100 mattresses. Then one day the prince met the girl of his dreams. He decided he better do something about it. That night, before the princess went to bed, the prince slipped his bowling ball under the 100 mattresses. When the princess came down for breakfast the next morning, the queen asked, "How did you sleep, dear?" "This might sound odd," said the princess, "but I think you need another mattress. I felt like I was sleeping on a lump as big as a bowling ball." The king and queen were satisfied. The prince and princess were married. And everyone lived happily, though maybe not completely honestly, ever after the end. Can you imagine 100 mattresses? First of all, you got to get all the way up on top of those 100 mattresses, okay? And then to get all the way up there and it feels like you're sleeping on a bowling ball, that's love, okay? The next one, the really ugly duckling. Ooh. Once upon a time, there was a mother duck and a father duck who had 7 baby ducklings. 6 of them were regular looking ducklings. The seventh, was a really ugly duckling. Everyone used to say, "What a nice looking bunch of ducklings." All except that one. "Boy, he's really ugly." The really ugly duckling heard these people, but he didn't care. He knew that one day he would probably grow up to be a swan and be bigger and look better than anything in the pond. Whew, he looks kind of crazy. Well, as it turned out, he was just a really ugly duckling. And he grew up to be just a really ugly duck. The end. That's the end of that, friends. But hey, he was confident. Listen, I'm happy with me, okay? The other frog prince. Did you know that there was another one? Once upon a time, there was a frog. One day, when he was sitting on his lily pad, he saw a beautiful princess sitting by the pond. He hopped in the water, swam over to her, and poked his head out of the weeds. "Pardon me, oh beautiful princess," he said in his most sad and pathetic voice. "I wonder if you can help me." The princess was about to jump up and run, but she felt sorry for the frog with the sad and pathetic voice. So she asked, "What can I do to help you, little frog?" "Well," said the frog, "I'm not really a frog, but a handsome prince who was turned into a frog by a wicked witch's spell. And the spell can only be broken by the kiss of a beautiful princess." The princess thought about this for a second, then lifted the frog from the pond and kissed him. "I was just kidding," said the frog. He jumped back into the pond, and the princess wiped the frog slime off of her lips. The end. That was not very nice. I would have been very angry at that very nasty looking frog. Little Red Running Shorts. "Okay, I've got things running smoothly now," said Jack the narrator. "And this next story is even better than the last 3. See, it's about a girl who runs very fast and always wears red running shorts. That's where her name comes from. Get it? So anyway, this girl is running to her granny's house when she meets a wolf. He tricks her into taking the long way while he takes the shortcut. Now this is the good part because Red runs so fast that she beats the wolf to Granny's house. He knocks on the door. Red answers it. And guess what she says? "My, what slow feet you have." And that's it. The end. Is that great or what? So sit back, relax, and enjoy Little Red Running Shorts. And now, like I've already said, Little Red Running Shorts. "You just told the whole story," says Little Red Running Shorts. "We're not going to tell it again?" "You can't say that," says Jack. You have to start with once upon a time. But you guys, no way, says the wolf. You blew it. But you guys are next. Look at the title at the top of the page. Little Red Running Shorts. That's you. Let's go, wolf. We're out of here. Wait, you can't do this. Your story is supposed to be 3 pages long. What do I do when we turn the page? You told the story, man. What do you want them to do? Let's see what's on the next page, shall we? Oh, I planted the wheat. I watered the wheat. I harvested the wheat. Now, do I get to tell my story? Said the little red hen. Say, what's going on here? Why is that page blank? Is that my page? Where is that lazy dog? Where is that lazy cat? Where is that lazy mouse? How do they expect me to tell the whole story by myself? Where is that lazy narrator? Where is that lazy illustrator? Where is that lazy author? Oh, I can see this book is going to be a doozy. Oh, and they're still not telling her story. Okay. Jack's bean problem. Forget that hen. Now it's time for the best story in the whole book, my story. Because once upon a time, I traded our last cow for 3 magic beans, and hey, Giant, what are you doing down here? You're wrecking my whole story. I don't like that story, said the giant. You always trick me. That's the best part, said Jack. Fee, fi, fum, fory. I have made my own story. Great rhyme, Giant. And I'm sure your story is just as good. But there's no room for it. So why don't you climb back up the beanstalk? I'll be up in a few minutes to steal your gold and your singing harp. I'll grind your bones to make my bread. I knew you'd understand. And there's another little thing that's been bugging me. Could you please stop talking in uppercase letters? It really messes up the page. I will read my story now, said the giant. And he did. Oh boy. Oh boy. Oh, wait a minute. Let me see. Oh no. So we will read the giant's story and then we will get to the stinky cheese man. Giant's story. The end of the evil stepmother said, I'll huff and snuff and give you 3 wishes. The beast changed into 7 dwarves happily ever after, for a spell had been cast by a wicked witch once upon a time. That's your story, said Jack. You've got to be kidding. That's not a fairly stupid tale. That's an incredibly stupid tale. That's an unbelievably stupid tale. That is the most stupid tale I ever... Ugh! The giant grabbed Jack and dragged him to the next page. Jack's story. Once upon a time, there was a giant. The giant squeezed Jack and said, "Tell me a better story or I will grind your bones to make my bread. And when your story is finished, I will grind your bones to make my bread. Anyway, ho, ho, ho." The giant laughed an ugly laugh. Jack thought, "He'll kill me if I do. He'll kill me if I don't. There's only one way to get out of this." Jack cleared his throat and began his story. Once upon a time, there was a giant. The giant squeezed Jack and said, "Tell me a better story or I'll grind your bones to make my bread. When your story is finished, I will grind your bones to make my bread. Anyway, ho, ho, ho." The giant laughed an ugly laugh. Jack thought, "He'll kill me if I do. He'll kill me if I don't. There's only one way to get out of this." Jack cleared his throat and then began his story. "Oh, once upon a time, there was a giant, and the giant squeezed Jack and said, 'Tell me a better story. I will grind your bones to make my bread. And when your story is finished, I will grind your bones to make my bread. Anyway, ho, ho, ho." The giant laughed an ugly laugh. Jack thought, "He'll kill me if I do. He'll kill me if I don't. There's only one way to get out of this." Jack cleared his throat. Well, you will see. We cannot keep telling this story. Do you see that? Do you see that? We cannot keep telling this story. Now, let us move on to the Stinky Cheese Man. We will come back to the other stories. But for right now, we will read the Stinky Cheese Man. Once upon a time, there was a little old woman and a little old man who lived together in a little old house. They were lonely, so the little old lady decided to make a man out of stinky cheese. She gave him a piece of bacon for a mouth and 2 olives for eyes and put him in the oven to cook. Oh man. Stinky cheese. When she opened the oven to see if he was done, the smell knocked her back. "Whew! What is that terrible smell?" she cried. The Stinky Cheese Man hopped out of the oven and ran out the door calling, "Run, run, run as fast as you can. You can't catch me. I'm the Stinky Cheese Man." The little old lady and the old man sniffed the air. "I'm not really very hungry," said the old man. "I'm not really all that lonely," said the old lady. So they didn't chase the Stinky Cheese Man. The Stinky Cheese Man ran and ran until he met a cow eating grass in a field. "Wow, what's that awful smell?" said the cow. "Whew. Oh boy." The Stinky Cheese Man said, "I've run away from the little old lady and the little old man, and I can run away from you too. I can. Run, run, run as fast as you can. You can't catch me. I'm the Stinky Cheese Man." The cow gave another sniff and said, "I'll bet you could give someone 2 or 3 stomach aches. I think I'll just eat weeds." So the cow didn't chase the Stinky Cheese Man either. The Stinky Cheese Man ran and ran until he met some kids playing outside school. "Gross," said the little girl. "What's that nasty smell?" "I've run away from the little old lady and the little old man and a cow, and I can run away from you too. I can. Run, run, run as fast as you can. You can't catch me. I'm the Stinky Cheese Man." A little boy looked up, sniffed the air, and said, "If I catch him, our teacher will probably make us eat him. Let's get out of here." So the kids didn't chase the Stinky Cheese Man either. I wonder if anybody will want to chase him. Let's see. By and by, the Stinky Cheese Man came to a river with no bridge. How will I ever cross the river? It's too big to jump, and if I swim across, I'll probably fall apart. And you know who, said you know who. Just then, the sly fox, who shows up in a lot of stories like these, poked his head out of the bushes. Why, just hop on my back and I'll carry you across, Stinky Cheese Man. How do I know you won't eat me? Trust me, said the fox. So the Stinky Cheese Man hopped on the fox's back. Fox swam to the middle of the river and said, "Oh man, what is that funky smell?" Couldn't escape that, Mr. Fox. The fox coughed, gagged, and sneezed, and the Stinky Cheese Man flew off his back and into the river, where he fell apart. The end. Oh, we've got to come back and read the rest of these stories. This might be another time where we come back and read some more stories from the same book. This is a repeat for Fabulous Friday. Okay? So we're going to come back and read the rest of the Stinky Cheese Man and other fairly stupid tales on our Fabulous Friday. This was good. I love this book. I love this book. It's hilarious. Well, my friends, we have read about stinky cheese and hens that want to plant wheat, who are waiting for lazy cats and mice and dogs. And now we will get to Walking with Miss Millie. Okay? I don't think we'll need the wacky music anymore for this story. So we will get to the Stinky Cheese Man and other fairly stupid stories. Tales, excuse me, on our Fabulous Friday, because we've got to finish that book. It's just too funny not to finish, okay? So we are now on chapter 18. We are going through this book, friends. Look at that. Look at that. We don't have much left. So we haven't seen Miss Millie very much in the last few chapters. We've been learning more and more about Alice and Pam and what Alice is looking for from the letter poems to remind her dad about how much he loves Rainbow, Georgia. Oh, excuse me. And her mama and her brother, and how he would love to be with them all the time. Now, we found out some very interesting information about Pam, okay? We found out that Pam is related to the McHale brothers. They are her brothers. She is their sister. Can you believe it? And come to find out, things at home are not very great. Though Alice does not like it and doesn't like to hear about how Pam's dad is home all the time, seems like he's not very nice. And the older brother is trying to act just like his dad, act tough just like his dad. But the younger brother is nice, like Pam is. So let's find out more about Pam and her brothers and their family. Didn't even know we were going to find that out. Find out some more about Miss Millie. Hopefully she shows up in this chapter. And we'll see if Miss Millie will give Alice another keepsake. We'll see. Chapter 18 of Walking with Miss Millie. I got the job, Mama announced as she hung up the phone. What job, Joni? Grandma asked. Or did you already tell me? Poor Grandma. On her bad days, she couldn't remember things. But on her good days, she couldn't forget not remembering. But maybe I was getting forgetful too. because I had no idea what Mama was talking about either. I didn't want to say anything earlier, Mama explained, in case I didn't get the job. But that was Gloria Davis, my friend from the high school who's a librarian. I'm going to work at the library. Why do you need to get a job there? I asked Mama, who was practically dancing around the room. If you need a job, why don't you just ask to get your old job back in Columbus? In Ohio, Mama had worked as a school secretary. She'd pretty much worked ever since I could remember, unlike Daddy. Sometimes he wouldn't go to work at all. Other times, he'd be gone a few days, saying he was starting something big. Mama stopped her happy dance and looked at me, sighing more dramatic than usual. Alice, I'm getting a job here at the library to help support us. It'll be a good thing, and it's just down the street. Well, congratulations, honey, Grandma said. I'm just sorry you have to get a job. Seems like you always had to be the one working before, too. With all Grandma's forgetting lately, it was funny how she could remember just fine that Daddy didn't work much when he was home. Eddie tapped Mama on the shoulder to ask what was going on. When she told him her news, he asked, "What about us?" Then he signed, "Who will stay with us?" Mama nodded and signed. As long as Grandma is having a good day, like today, I think Alice can help her enough to stay with you. If it looks like it's a bad day for Grandma, I'll stay home. Gloria, Miss Davis, knows all about Grandma. If something happens, I can be home in 2 minutes. Is that okay with you, Alice? Not really. I looked down and stared at the kitchen table with the white crocheted tablecloth Grandma made. I pulled on a loose piece of yarn that was looking like it was ready to escape the rest of the tablecloth. Alice Ann, we have to make a life for ourselves here. We have a life in Columbus. I pulled the yarn, and the rest of the tablecloth puckered and rose up like a magic trick. I could tell Mama was signing something in silence to Eddie, but I didn't look up to see what it was. Eddie signed something back and then left the room. Is it really that bad for you here? Mama's voice was soft, but it cracked a little. I shrugged. I was just about ready to tell Mama how much I was missing Linda, my school, my daddy, when someone was knocking at the door. Since the screen was open, I could see it was a man, and for a second I thought it was Daddy. Pat? Mama practically laughed as she stood up from the table, fixing her hair like she was gonna get a picture taken all of a sudden. What a nice surprise to see you today. When he came in the door, I recognized him as the grocer, but couldn't figure out why he was here at our house and why Mama was so happy to see him. He sure wasn't carrying any groceries with him. Hi, Joni. You look lovely today. I was scowling at him as he turned to me. And so do you, Alice Ann. I just stared back without answering, but seeing Mama's eyes glaring at me, I knew I had to mind my manners. Thank you, Mr. O'Brien. Your mama told me about your bike accident, and well, my daughter, Maddie, has a bike she's too big for now, so I brought it for you. He opened up the door and waved for us to follow him outside, where there was a bike that was a lot better looking than Mama's old bike. It was a green banana bike with a long flowered seat. I fought the urge to take it for a ride since I didn't want Mr. O'Brien thinking I liked it. Or him. I remembered the last time I heard about his daughter. Is Maddie still seeing the son of the post office guy? The look on his face made me smile, but Mama's look told me I'd gone too far. Um, no, they aren't seeing each other anymore. He looked back at Mama, who cleared her throat before talking. Alice, did you forget something? Thank you for the bike. I don't think I'll need it, but thanks. Mama shook her head at me and motioned for them to go. Oh, sorry. Mama shook her head at me and motioned for them to go back inside. I just stayed on the porch, looking at a bike that, like everything else, didn't really belong to me. Chapter 19. The heat of the end of June made me, honest to goodness, miss the heat of the beginning of June. When I walked outside, it was like wandering smack into a baker's oven that got cranked up a degree or two with each slam of the door. Even with Grandma's 2 box fans, it wasn't much more comfortable inside. Every night, after I prayed for that blasted heat to let up some, I prayed that Daddy would come or send word he was coming the next day. I figured I had my bases covered then. Surely God would answer at least one of those prayers. But every morning, it just got hotter, and the messages from Daddy never came. I started to worry that maybe God was as deaf as Eddie. But on the 1st of July, I woke up early feeling extra hot and extra sticky since Mama got up before me to get ready for work and took the fan with her. I was too hot and sticky to get dressed, so I walked downstairs in my PJs to find Mama sitting at the kitchen table reading a letter. Mama saw me and tucked the letter under her book. Good morning. You're up early. I yawned and sat next to her. Couldn't sleep. It's too hot here. Oh, I'm sorry. I took the fan. You can have it back if you want to go back to bed for a while. Mama's eyes darted to the book that was covering the letter. I nodded toward the book. Who's the letter from? Mama pulled it out from under the book. I glanced at the envelope, hoping it was signed SWAK, but it wasn't. But I recognized Daddy's handwriting, and a wave of happiness blew over me, which felt better than 1,000 fans. And then I saw Mama wipe her eyes. I hoped with every ounce of hopefulness I had inside that those were tears of joy, because the letter said he missed us something fierce and wanted us back in Ohio. But from the sour look on her face, I sort of knew that wasn't the case. I reached for the letter, but Mama pulled her hand and the letter back. There's a lot of boring details in here, but she cleared her throat again and tried to sound happier. But he said he's going to try to visit Rainbow. When? When is Daddy coming? I yelled as I threw my arms around Mama. Now, Alice Ann, she said, you have to remember, Daddy sometimes makes promises. When? When did he say he's coming here? She took a deep breath before she answered. The 4th of July. He said he'd be here on the 4th of July. Maybe I should have asked her then and there why that answer to my prayers news would make her even a little sad. But I couldn't bring myself to think anything but happy thoughts. My daddy was coming in 3 days. 3 days! Independence Day would be a perfect day for him to come and break us all free of Rainbow. Is my clock wrong? Or are you early? Miss Millie stood at her back door, dressed in her usual shirt and jeans, but with her hair not in its usual braid. Her silver hair hung in long strands, making her look younger even with all her wrinkles. I walked on in, noticing Clarence didn't even bark to announce my arrival. Sorry I'm so early, but I couldn't wait to tell you. Daddy's coming home. Daddy's coming here in 3 days on the 4th of July. Is that so? Miss Millie said. Well, I'll be. Yup, he wrote to Mama and told her that very thing. He's going to come here and remember he loves us and never want to be without us anymore. Said all that in a letter? Well, not exactly. I don't rightly know what all he said in the letter. Mama was kind of tearful and emotional about it. But he's coming, and I know it's all going to be okay after that. I thought of all the treasures I had collected and tucked away in Mama's box of letters. Treasures I would be giving to Daddy in just 3 days. Miss Millie nodded as she ran her fingers through her hair like a comb. How's your little brother feel about it all? Is he excited your daddy's coming? Not really, I admitted. Eddie feels things different. When I told him at breakfast that Daddy was coming, he just looked at me like I told him I was eating a dang egg for breakfast. Miss Millie was now braiding her hair while looking straight at me. Do you think he doesn't want your daddy to come to fetch y'all? I don't know. When I asked him if he misses Daddy, he said the darndest thing. He just said, not really. Can you believe that? But before Miss Millie could say anything, Eddie was standing at the door, holding his plate. Well, wonders never cease. Look who's here. Miss Millie waved hello to him. Then he turned to me. I walked with you today, remember? In my excitement to tell Miss Millie about Daddy, I forgot I'd promised Eddie he could walk with us today. He liked the excuse to drive his plate farther than Grandma's yard. Sorry, I signed, rubbing my fist over my heart. Sorry. Right, he signed back. And while he can't make his voice show sarcasm, he does a really good job of it with his face. So the 4 of us, started our walk. Then Miss Millie asked, How's your Grammy doing lately? Hard to say, I told Miss Millie. It changes every day. Last week, she had 3 good days in a row. And then it was like a switch got turned off in her head. She just forgets everything. Like yesterday, she insisted on making her usual 4th of July cookies with red, white, and blue icing that she makes every year, even though Mama told her it's too early to bake them. She made them anyhow, and she must have mixed up the sugar with the salt in the recipe because they looked something awful and tasted even worse. Miss Millie shook her head. That's a dang shame. Dang shame, I nodded in agreement. I heard a car coming from behind us, slowing down. The man driving hollered, Well, hello, Miss Miller. Good to see you feeling better. Miss Millie cleared her throat to answer. Morning, Dr. Watkins. You know, I'm too ornery to stay down long. The doctor smiled a real nice smile at Miss Millie. Eddie was now waving, but not to the driver. He was waving to the passenger, a girl with brown hair and pigtails. She was smiling at Eddie and waving. Then she looked over at me, looking at her, and we waved to each other too. Well, you two, try to keep my patient here from getting into trouble, the doctor told us. Heaven knows I can't. And with that, he grinned and drove off. When they left, my brothers signed, "Who?" I signed back, "Miss Millie's doctor." Eddie nodded, then stopped to ask another question. I translated for him. "Eddie wants to know if you're sick." Instead of telling me what to sign, Eddie, Miss Millie looked right at him and shook her head. Then she pretended she had a cane and could barely walk. "Just old," she answered in an exaggerated way. Eddie laughed so hard he dropped his plate. Miss Millie looked pleased. She was able to talk to Eddie all by herself. "Bless his heart," she grinned. But after she took a few more steps and coughed more, I asked, "Are you sure you're not sick?" Miss Millie smiled at me. "Like I told Eddie, I'm old, Alice girl. And truth be told, when you're 92, you know you can't be long for this world." I knew Miss Millie was old, and I knew she coughed all the time, but hearing her say that made my heart hurt. She looked over at me. "Now don't you be scrunching up your pretty face on my account. Whatever happens to me next, I'll be ready. Don't you fret none. Now tell me more about your daddy coming here." She knew that would make me change the subject, and it did. We will end right there on this wonderful Wednesday. So happy that I got to read with you all. So, Alice's dad apparently is coming on the 4th of July. But Miss Millie and Eddie and her mom are not quite so sure about that actually happening. We will have to see in chapter 20. Is that chapter 20? Yes, chapter 20. If he actually shows up in Rainbow, Georgia. And if Alice will be able to remind him about how much he loves or used to love Rainbow, how much he loves her mother and her brother. And we will also see what happens with Miss Millie. Because, of course, she's old, but many people live past 92. Well, we will get back to it on our fabulous Friday. And on that day, we will also be reading the rest of the stories in The Stinky Cheese Man and Other Fairly Stupid Tales by John Skeetska and Lane Smith. And today we also read The Pigeon Finds a Hot Dog by Mo Willems. Both of these books are Scholastic books. Now, there are more pigeon books. Think in my next shipment, gonna have to get some of the books about our fair pigeon. Okay? Well, this was a great, wonderful Wednesday broadcast for Miss Hope's Reading Hour. It is over. It is done. We're at the end. Can you believe it? The time always goes so fast. But I am glad that I got to spend that time with you all to read these great books. And with that being said, we are at the end, and I will see you on our next broadcast on our fabulous Friday. Remember and think of something you can be thankful for on your Thankful Thursday. And I will see you on our fabulous Friday right here, 6 o'clock on Miss Hope's Reading Hour. Until then, my friends, I will say, see you next time.